In this video, I will share 5 MLB picks with you for July 2nd. Now, should I stop posting MLB picks on Mondays or what? 2 Mondays ago, we posted an 0-4 record before going strong for the rest of the week. Now, this past Monday, which is the last time I talked to you, we posted a 1-3 record, so things went badly for the first day of the week once again. Now, of course, I'm just joking. I'm not going to stop posting videos on Mondays. This is probably just a coincidence, but it feels a bit frustrating to start the week on the wrong foot. But I expect things to go very well for the rest of the week, once more. All right, so like I said, today I'm going to share 5 plays with you. So let's get started with the St. Louis and Pittsburgh game. Oh, but first, I want to mention the fact that towards the end of this video, I will talk a little bit about the famous Lobster Bet, the daily best wager across all sports, while also delivering a speech about the #1 rookie mistake made by inexperienced sports bettors, which is to focus way too much on recent results, focusing too much on the short term. All right, so my first pick for today is the St. Louis Cardinals to get the W in Pittsburgh. The odds are right now are around -125 or 1.80 in decimal format, and this is a 3-star play. All right, so in this case, St. Louis has dropped the first 2 games of the series, and they will be looking to avoid the sweep against their division rivals. So that should give them extra motivation, especially given the fact that they were shut out on both occasions, which is shameful. Now, Pittsburgh is riding a rare 5-game winning streak. Now, this means that the Cardinals fit under a betting system called the cold team versus hot team matchup, whose rules are quite simple. Let me show you on your screen what the rules are. Bet the road team if the road club has lost at least one game in a row, whereas the home team has won at least 4 straight games. So that's obviously the case for today in this contest. You can see on your screen at the bottom the profit that we made from 2010 to 2016, because that's the data set that I owned at the time that I developed this system back in 2019. Now, I have continued tracking its performance in recent years. So, for example, this season, across 82 bets, we have posted small profit. And last year, we posted a 65 and 64 record. So this was slightly positive. But given the fact that we bet mostly underdogs, we made huge gains. In fact, we posted a 19.75 unit profit. So that's a lot of gains for last season. Now, I have to admit, this is not one of my favorite betting angles because it tends to produce too many picks. It is not picky enough for my taste. But still, in recent years, it has done quite well, so it's an okay betting system. Now, Sonny Gray is coming off his best career outing. The only thing that prevented him from recording a perfect game was a single by Nolan Jones in the 5th inning. And this good performance was not an outlier. If you focus on Gray's last 7 appearances on the mound, he posted a 2.06 ERA. So I expect him to deliver another good outing, especially against a weak offense like Pittsburgh. I feel like the Cardinals will indeed avoid the sweep in Pittsburgh today. So that's pick #1 for me. Up next, I would like to share a play on game #1 of the doubleheader between the Brewers and the Mets. And in this case, we have one of those teams qualifying under a betting strategy called the Big Upset #2, which is one of my favorite systems across the 19 that I have developed. So let me show you the rules. Bet against any team that meets the following 3 criteria. They lost their previous game to a team whose money line was greater than +150. So in other words, we're going to fade the team that was the victim of a big upset in its last match. They must also be facing a different opponent, and they must be underdogs today. Now, if you focus on the Milwaukee Brewers, their last game was last Sunday against Colorado, and in this match, the Rockies won 4-3, even though their money line was plus 210. So, in other words, the Brewers were the victim of a big upset against the Rockies. Now they are obviously facing a different opponent, and they are underdogs in game number 1 of the doubleheader. So by following the rules, we must fade Milwaukee, which is why I am taking the Mets money line, which is right now around minus 130 or 1.77 in decimal format. But this is a 2-star play, so only 2 stars out of 5, which means I expect the ROI to be around plus 2% in this match. Let me say a few more words about this about this betting strategy. It has done exceptionally well this year via a 9-3 record. And also from 2019 to 2024, so in those recent years, we posted a gain of plus 10.36 units. Now we have an awesome pitching duel between Freddie Peralta and Clay Holmes. Peralta has been a solid performer since 2018. He's been there, done that, and he's posted solid numbers this season with a 2.90 ERA and a 1.13 whip stat. So he's been a bit better than his counterpart, Clay Holmes, whose numbers this year are a 2.97 ERA and a 1.24 whip stat. Now the Mets are enduring their most difficult stretch of the season by losing 13 of their last 16 overall, including an embarrassing sweep in Pittsburgh. Now the Mets have had 2 full days to digest and also to regroup, and I think they will bounce back with a tight win in Game 1 of the doubleheader. It's not going to be easy against Peralta, but still I've decided to side with the Mets. The main reason is that I trust a lot the big upset number 2 betting strategy. So that's pick number 2 for today. All right, up next, I have a play on the second game of the Brewers-Mets doubleheader. And this time I am taking, let me show you the official play, under 4.5 runs to be scored in the first 5 innings of game number 2 of the Milwaukee Mets game. And this is a 4-star play, so this is actually the bet that I like the most out of the 5 that I'm about to present to you. Jacob Misiorowski has been lights out in his first 3 MLB appearances. He has given up only 2 earned runs and only 3 hits across 16 innings of work, including striking out 19 batters. This is truly impressive. Now, in his last outing against Paul Skeens from the Pirates, he reached triple-digit miles per hour on 19 pitches. He has looked untouchable so far in MLB. And in AAA this year, he racked up 80 strikeouts over 63 1/3 innings. Now we have another guy who's made only 3 MLB appearances, will take the mound for New York, Blade Tidwell. But the results have not been the same at all compared to Misiorowski. So Tidwell has pitched in 10 2/3 innings, and he's given up 18 hits and 12 earned runs, which is shameful. So if you do the calculations, that amounts to an ERA of 10.13. Come on, man. However, it's worth noting that all 3 outings were on the roads, so perhaps he can turn things around by pitching in front of his home fans today. And I think he will find a way to limit the damage against the Brewers today. So you may call me crazy for thinking that Tidwell can limit the damage against Milwaukee, but that's my opinion, and I'm betting the under in the first half of game number 2 of the Brewers-Mets game. All right, we have 2 more plays coming up. Now we have an upset special. This time I am taking the LA Angels to pull off the upset in Atlanta. This is also a 4-star play, so I like it quite a bit as well. In this case, the Angels fit under a betting system called the Big Upset Number 1. Let me show you its rules. So bet any team that won its previous game at odds greater than plus 150 if they are also facing the same opponent and if their money line today is smaller than plus 125. Because according to historical data, this betting angle has not done well if you are betting a moderate or big underdog. So that's why we are restricting ourselves to teams who are either favored to win today or if they are small favorites. And that's the case of the Angels. So like I just showed you, their money line is around plus 110. They are facing a different opponent compared, They are facing the same opponent as the one that they beat previously in a big upset. In fact, in the last game, the Angels prevailed by a 4-0 score thanks to a good performance by Tyler Anderson, who delivered 6 strong innings on the mound for LA. Now today we have a pretty significant edge in terms of the pitching department. Kikuchi is enjoying a great season with a 2.79 ERA, but I have to admit that I'm a bit concerned by his whip statistic, which is below average. The league average is 1.30 and his whip stat is 1.37, which means there has been more traffic on the bases compared to an average pitcher. So those numbers suggest that Kikuchi has been a bit lucky so far this year. There's been a fair amount of traffic on the bases, but he has found a way to avoid allowing too many runs. But Kikuchi has something valuable that his counterpart does not have, and that is called experience. Fuentes is one of Atlanta's top pitching prospects, but he has struggled mightily in limited action so far in 2025. He has been belted in both of his starts. In total, he has been on the mound for 8 1/3 innings, allowing 14 hits and 10 runs in the process, while also striking out just 4 batters. And also one more reason why I like LA to pull off the upset is the fact that the Braves' bats have been ice cold. In fact, they have scored either 0 or 1 run in 4 of their past 5 games, which is abysmal. And we are also getting positive odds. Well, sign me up for this potential upset special. So my fourth selection of the day is the Angels to pull off the upset in Atlanta. And let me wrap up today's picks before I talk about the famous lobster bets and I say a few words about focusing too much on the short term. I'm taking the Texas Rangers to win outright against Baltimore. And right now the line is minus 140 or 1.714 in decimal format. Well, to me, this pick comes down to the fact that I believe that Texas should be bigger favorites right now. So this is like a good value wager to me. Texas, they are at home, where they have been much more effective than on the road this year. They are also the better club between these two squads, and they also hold a fairly massive pitching edge. In fact, I feel like MLB teams have figured out Tomoyuki Sugano. After posting a good 3.04 ERA in his first 12 outings, well, his last 4 have not gone well at all because Sugano's ERA in his last 4 appearances on the mound is 8.15, which is very high. Meanwhile, he will be facing Nathan Eovaldi, who was the best AL pitcher during the month of May via a stellar 0.68 ERA. But then he missed 1 month of action and before delivering a shaky performance against Seattle in his return. But I still think he has a better chance of being good today than Sugano. Eovaldi's career record against the Orioles is 8-3, so he enjoys facing this opponent quite a bit. So again, to me, this is a good value wager, the Rangers money line at -1 for the odds. So there you go, you have my 5 selections for today. And I have also already released the famous lobster bet earlier today. So speaking of the lobster bet, let me update you on its performance. Again, if you have missed my previous videos from the past 1 or 2 months, the lobster bet is what I believe the best wager for every day. And we have had a great of success overall, but we have not done very well lately. So let me show you the actual numbers by sharing my screen that contains my picks in an Excel spreadsheet. So if you look at the performance since June 22nd, we've had, so you need to look at the column here with W or L, and I am entering the number 1 if we won the bet, or 0 if it lost, or 0.5 in case it was a push. So since June 22nd, we have accumulated 3 wins, 6 losses, and 1 push, which is very bad. But what matters is the long run. These numbers are what matter the most. Since I started sharing this best daily wager, we have accumulated 50 wins versus 19 losses and 1 tie. And a person risking $100 per play has accumulated $2,249, and in terms of ROI, the return on investment, that equates to 32.1%, which is fantastic. Now, that being said, let me say a few words about focusing too much on recent results. To me, this is clearly the number 1 rookie mistake made by sports bettors. Let me share you a story that I've seen happen over and over again. So a YouTube viewer sees one of my videos and where I talk about the fact that we've had a lot of success over 3 weeks, for example. So then that person is like, oh wow, Professor MJ seems great, so I'm going to sign up for his premium picks at mjpicks.com. And then we go through a bad week where we suffer some losses, so that person panics and then unsubscribes. But he continues following my work. And then he sees that, let's say that for the next 2 weeks, we enjoy some gains. So he's like, all right, let me give it a shot again. So he signs up again, and guess what happens? We go through a bad week again. So this person definitely unsubscribes and leaves forever and stops following what I do. So if you take a step back, so during the time that this person has followed my work, we've had 5 winning weeks versus 2 losing weeks, and yet this person leaves by thinking that I suck. Okay, so this is when you really need to focus on the long term. Stop following a person for a few days, and if things go badly, you stop and you move to someone else. Because in this case, I'm not talking about myself. Okay, so in general, whether you want to follow me or someone else, it's all good to me, but my only advice is stick to that person for at least 2 months before you get a good grasp of how good or bad this person is. Don't rely on small sample sizes. That's my main message here. This reminds me of the stock market, when too many people will go crazy over a stock that has been red hot lately. For example, they hear about the stock of a certain company that has grown by 75% over the last 3 weeks, and they're like, oh wow, I need to buy that stock. When in fact, they should be doing the opposite. Don't buy that stock, or if you already owned it, maybe you should sell some of it, because it's unlikely that it's going to grow like crazy once again. And conversely, if someone hears about a stock that has gone down by 75%, well, I tend to go against the grain and I will consider buying it. Of course, I may read about this company to get more information, or maybe I will look at their financial statement. but I personally like it when I hear about a stock that has dropped by a big percentage, because they may be undervalued. Maybe people went crazy by selling too much. So the same goes here in the sports betting world. So don't go crazy about short-term results. So again, I'm not saying follow me, okay? The first criteria should be you need to trust the person that you are following, and number two, stick to that person for at least 2 months. Otherwise, you don't have a big sample enough to draw any sensible conclusions. So even when I go 13-2, some people go crazy and they're like, oh my God, you're the best sports handicapper in the world. And it's fun hearing that type of comment, but it's only 15 games, okay? It doesn't mean that I'm that great. What matters the most is how I have done over a long period of time. So that goes back to what I said here. I know that the lobster bets have not done very well recently, and I'm really happy to find out that we've had pretty much the same number of subscribers in June as in July. So to me, that shows that we have many savvy sports investors following this channel, because they did not panic because we fared badly towards the end of June. Everyone knows that we've done fantastically well overall this year, so we are likely to bounce back once again. And of course, I am working super hard towards this goal. So by the way, if you're interested to receive the daily lobster bet in your mailbox, just sign up below by following the link in the comments section. So I'm Professor MJ. It was a great pleasure talking to you again. Good luck with your bets on July 2nd, and I'll talk to you again very soon.